Welcome to Research Perch from the Massage Therapy Foundation. Short, practical insights into massage therapy research and how it can benefit your practice.
Hello, everyone. This is Doug Nelson, the president of the Massage Therapy Foundation, and welcome to another episode of Research Perch. In this episode, we will again revisit the Instructor's Guide to Teaching Research, which is a document that was produced by the Massage Therapy Foundation about a year ago, actually. And there's many resources inside of that document that we would like to explore. And today we're going to focus on one of them specifically. So I would like to introduce Brent Jackson. Brent's on the line. Hi, Brent.
Hi, how are you, Doug? I'm
Good.
Brent Jackson here, and Vice President of the Massage Therapy Foundation and Chair of the Education Committee. So thanks for having me, Doug.
Great. And Brent was chair of the committee that produced this ebook. And also we have with us today Pete Whitridge, who wrote one of the chapters and the one that we're going to explore today. Hi, Pete.
Hi, it's great to see you both today. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on the Research Perch.
Thanks. And thanks for all the work that you've done for the profession as a whole. This is just one of many things, and we deeply appreciate it. So Brent, just for a minute, you want to just tell everybody, for those people maybe not familiar with the Instructor's Guide, just a little bit of background about it?
Sure. We wrote the ebook about Instructor's Guide to Teaching Research based off of a need that we have gotten a lot of feedback from different instructors, different school systems about incorporating research and really how to teach research and research activities in which they can incorporate. In the previous two videos, we talked about different activities that we can do, the vocabulary, things like that we can bring in. And today we're really going to focus on Pete's section, which was locating research. That's one of the major questions that we have from educators is, how can I locate this research? Or maybe they're not part of a larger university or larger college. And so they want to know how can they access the research that we're always talking about. So Pete is great at this section, and I'm looking really forward to seeing and learning myself. So this is awesome to have Pete here.
It's great to explore. There's the what behind it, but then there's also the where behind it. And so I think this will be fun today to explore that. So Pete, again, thank you so much for doing that. We can go right to a screen share if you want.
Sure.
Let's start the journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, and what I did was I set us up so that we would be on the IJTMB website. And
Wonderful.
I think it's just a fabulous place for us to pay attention to as teachers. One of the things that I think is a wonderful activity that teachers can do as a service for their students and to begin the semester or however they start their time thinking about research is to get the students to actually subscribe to alerts that are coming out of the IJTMB. So right here I've actually clicked on the subscribe to alerts, and that would give the student notification as soon as the IJTMB came out, and would also then give them a login ability to become possibly a reviewer and have different roles within the Massage Therapy Foundation. So part of what is so great about the IJTMB is that we have access to a tremendous amount of our case studies and case reports. When we look at the content, you can see the current journal, but then you also have these archives, and the archives go back all the way to 2008, and they are formatted so that they're just done by volume, and each page there's 46 of these volumes to take a look at. And so when I introduce to students the journal, of course, I usually take them to the most current issue, and we're just going to move to that issue right now. See if it will come up. I think there's an excellent series of case reports that came up here. And so one of the things that I do is I'm just always giving the students some sense of, oh yeah, here's an article, here's a place that I found it. And that's the thing that also then helps them have the crumbs to go back to this. The other thing is that there's a search mechanism here. And what I want to do is just to help teachers who are thinking about this to just do a general kind of thing that they could find information. So I'm going to do one that says case reports, and that will give us a whole search of the various case reports that have come up through the Massage Therapy Foundation. And so I'm going to turn the screen, and then I'm going to bring it up here. And what we'll actually see are, I think, in almost chronological order, some of the case reports and case report information that's come out of the Massage Therapy Foundation programs.
Wow.
This particular page shows us that we're looking at 1 of 25, and then we have 62 more, or 82 items total.
Yeah.
So part of what I'm thinking about when I'm paying attention to students and thinking in terms of, as a teacher, what I want to introduce them to, these case studies are tremendous starting points for students. For instance, I know this particular TMJ case report, and so I just wanted to pull this particular one up. I think it's helpful for students to have access to that. And this is from 2011. Over and over, when I talk to students, they just don't have a good sense of where to go or how to find it. So I think I've done two things here. I've kind of showed you where the content is. We talked about using the search button to put in some simple things for searching, which is going to be very different than what we might do in PubMed, but it's still very usable. And I really think that the IJTMB is the first source for massage schools to go to, because all of this research is dedicated towards massage, community works, and helping students and practitioners identify clinical ways that they can begin to think about their practice.
You know, and Pete, I love the case report thing just because they're so readable, and it's really about what somebody learned in the process, so that it's shared knowledge in that way.
Yes, and really one of the great things about this is you can look at it as a, HTML up on your website, or you could just pull down the PDFs. And so again, as a teacher, I would pull one of these down and start the day. Here's our abstract for the day, and I found this on the journal, and then encourage them to use the search and begin to see if they can find this author or the DOI number, or use some of the keywords that we see here that might be helpful.
Now, Doug, is this an expensive resource for schools, or?
Yeah, that's the thing. In many journals, the articles, you have to pay to actually access them, but this is free. So as Pete said, you could pull up the HTML, you could pull down the PDF, but the whole thing, everything is available to you, and it's completely free. So the foundation has paid those fees to make the full access possible. That's really important.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that's one example of how I use this. The other thing is that the archives, if you have the students subscribe to alerts and have their own account, many times what you can do is have them go into their account and start to think in terms of what it might be to be a reviewer. Some of the roles that people might be able to have could be interesting. So I think that would be a way to help students begin to think that maybe it would apply to them. And then the other thing is, I think it's helpful to have notifications that come in regarding the issues or titles or different things. So I think it's incumbent upon us as teachers to help students begin the process of whether or not they understand the research, to start to receive some of it and be able to start to look at it. So if you all have some questions or things you might want me to illuminate from this site, I'd be happy to continue on, or I've got a couple other things I might show as some examples.
I think we can probably move on to another site, but thank you, Pete. That's a great overview of the IJTMB. That's
And
great.
really, I open the IJTMB the day it comes because it's going to have a couple of articles that really inform me. Um, you could spend a lot of time, and I've just switched the screen to my PubMed site, which I'm a kind of a nerd of PubMed and all of those kinds of things. So the other thing that I always think, and this is really part of the chapter and some of the information that we talk about in the chapter is, again, I think that students should learn to have an account to be able to log in and out so that when you are using this, that you can come back to a rabbit hole. So many times when I first started doing this, I didn't spend enough time learning about the resources, so I kind of ended up in different rabbit holes. But some of the features of just having an account give me searches, histories of searches. I actually have a whole group of things that come to me on a regular basis, usually weekly or monthly. There are authors that I'm interested in, so that I get a notice when that author publishes something. And I'm just going through here, and I did an article for the AMTA journal, and I did some searching for some information about burns and current scars and tissue burning and that kind of thing. And so I just kept track of that in my own searches and filters. And one of the great things that happens here is I get a lot of information of places that I might go when I look at a search box that says search details. And there's a lot of information in there in terms of terms and keywords and things like that. The other thing that I always find helpful when I'm looking at a kind of a PubMed story like this is that I can actually go to free texts or free full texts and see what I can get for free. And that's my challenge to the students, right? Is so let's find something that you can read, that you can see the whole article. And that's an issue for all of the students. And whether it's not having access to a medical library or it's very expensive for a mom and pop school, this is a way for students to see that there is information out there. There are current rules regarding funding for research that must be made public. So lots of things are not behind paywalls, and this is a good start to give them confidence that there are things out there that are for free. And once they see that there's something for free and they're not getting blocked, they might go in and begin to do some other looking in different areas. So that would be a piece of kind of what I'm wanting to do here. The other thing is my account also then keeps track of my activity. So if for some reason I'm can't remember what rabbit hole I went down, well, look, these are from October when I was doing something. And I could actually clear this. I could see all of my recent activity. This is a very strong database that helps me recognize and identify resources for many, many areas. For instance, many people who are much more scientifically oriented than me have access to things that are genomic or genetic or some software and different things like that. And then the other thing that I think is so helpful is that there's all these kind of how-tos in this PubMed. And so when I start out, one of the things I highly recommend is that whether you're a teacher or you're a student, that you start to take a look at some of the videos. They were done by the government for your education, and we've paid for them. You know, we all paid taxes. So what a beautiful thing for us to actually be able to use this and have some videos from that. Um, So again, I'm kind of a nerd about all that stuff, so I could talk for days or have classes for months on that.
Yeah.
But maybe you have some questions or
Yeah.
some things you'd like to know a little more about.
Yeah. That's really great, Pete, and especially having a search history is great because we've all looked at stuff and thought that is seriously cool. I don't have time to look at it now,
Mhm.
but then you
Mhm.
know, just a little reminder. Oh yeah, that's right. Here's what I looked at. That's
Mhm.
excellent.
Yeah. Brent, anything that you want to add in here?
No, I just appreciate you taking time to show us that research is there at our fingertips, whether it's, right now that you've shown us some places that is at no cost to schools or students. So there's no reason why students can't be going in and accessing this. And I think that's great. I really appreciate you showing. I've learned a lot just watching you today. So it's great.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I think the only last thing I think would be really helpful for people to see, and I took my email off because I just wanted you all to see when it pops up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that I get a notice from Wound Repair and Regeneration Journal?
Mm-hmm.
Then I get alerts. I happen to be work with a lot with people with scars and burns and things like that. So wound therapy is always a big thing for me. And I'm just going to pull this one up because I think this is a big issue within our field, being able to think about pain. And so what I do is I get a Saturday setting, search pain. I can have as many results as I want to come to me, but I only have 5. I think I would be overwhelmed. And then I'm just looking and seeing if there's something here that seems super interesting to me. I might find 2 or 3 things that just seem like, oh, I should know a little more about that. And it's not like I'm going to become an expert, but at least I'm immersing myself in the words and the issues that apply to me in my field. So, for me, like this one here, and I'm just pulling it up at random. I've never seen this study. What is the incidence of Coda Equina syndrome? A systematic review. Well, I mean, I know what all those things are, so I'm like, yeah, let me see what they say. And so we have access to this particular thing, and it looks to me like I would probably have full access to it. I have the DOI number here that I could use to do some searches in a medical library. Even just bringing this little thing into class could be a beautiful way of just starting to introduce students to the language. And then, of course, if you had this up on the screen, when I hit this, it says link out, right? So that can tell me where it really was. And then over here, we can see that this was a review. And then sometimes we can also start to pick up the mesh terms and things like that from a different study that we can do. So a lot of times the keywords might be something that students need to start to play with. Sometimes it's finding an author, right? Because many people have multiple publications in different fields, and that might be interesting to see. And then also there's so many different journals out there that you may never have seen. And you could look at this in a whole variety of different ways.
Sure.
So that, when you shared it with someone. And then of course we can save it, right? Save it to our favorites. And I'm not sure why I'm not logged in, but you could get the idea that I could save it to my favorites. There's also ways for people to log in with Google or with different third-party options. I think that if I were to offer a couple of things for teachers from this, would be to get the students to sign up for the IJTMB and to also start to get themselves an account for the PubMed through this system, and then begin to challenge them. Here's an author. Maybe you could find a few articles for me. Here's a topic or some keywords. Maybe you could go out into the world and find them for me.
Yeah.
And over and over again, students get challenged of, oh, that I didn't use the right keyword, or I didn't add things together in a good way. But when I looked farther, I found more stuff and more things that applied to me.
And it's just a matter of, it's that curiosity, and I think all of us, the three of us, have been in the field for a long time, and it's just an amazing thing to be in a field where it's ever changing, ever growing, ever deepening, just richer and deeper than we ever imagined. And so this is great. And again, to both of you, thank you so much for the work you did on the document. I think for teachers, for instructors, it just makes just bringing research into the classroom so much more accessible. It's a lot easier when, in one sense, all you have to do is press play, right? And what you've laid out there, it just makes it easier for people to integrate that into the classroom, and for students should make it just a wonderful experience. So
beautiful. And I would just say, as my last thing, this resource page is filled with things that each massage student should be required to pull something up from the infographics, could be some of the case report info, you know, all kinds of things that are here that students could be challenged to pick something up and find something that's interesting to them, instead of being told what they should be interested in, and how beautiful that could be.
You know, one of my favorites, Pete, is the research posters, because we've put years of those now up. So the PDFs of the posters are up there, instead of, if you were at the event where the posters were displayed, good for you, but now you can actually see them.
Yeah. And I just switched to that page, and I am such a fan of the poster work, and being on the Massage Therapy Education Committee has been an honor. I've been on it since it was initiated many years ago. Jan Schwartz, and it was on with Ruth, and I just one of the few places that I choose to do my volunteer time, and I really appreciate the foundation, and it's a place that I put my own volunteer hours into.
And for that, we thank you. So
Thank you, Pete.
thank you. Thank you to both of you for all the contributions to the foundation and to the profession. And for all of you watching, thank you very much. We hope you found this very helpful, and the Massage Therapy Foundation stands ready to help through research, through education, and community service to make a difference in the profession. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks, Brent. Thanks, Pete.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider donating to the Massage Therapy Foundation so that we can continue to bring you this and many other resources to increase your knowledge and improve your practice. Thank you.